let's try to get Facebook streaming. I don't know if anyone can hear me, but it's cool if you can. You're getting some kind of musical thing from me, 'cause I am singing. I can't sing, but I'm trying, and that's what's important. See if I can get the Facebook stream started, because I want it to be going as well. Season 2, episode 4. Trimming. Terrific. Looks like I got it working. Hello, hello. For those of you unfamiliar with the Australian euphemism, is a euphemism? Slang. I don't know. G'day. Oops, I've hit play. I shouldn't have. Alright, good, that's going. It's all going, it's all going. Woohoo, there's a few people. Hey, you. Cedric. Who else is here? Undead will destroy all. I don't know who this is, but I really like the handle. Undead will destroy. Oops. Oh. And we are going to go live any second now. I hope you have your bevies ready. I got mine. 0 alcohol beer. Not a bad thing. Tastes quite nice, actually. It's malty. All right, we're going to come into it on a 3, 2, 1.
This week on the Adobe Video Chin-Wag, we go all Jenny Craig on your assets, getting you trimming terrific. Speed up your sessions with more trimming techniques than Edward Scissorhands. Take a ride on the slip and slide and ripple at it to your pleasure. All that and more for only 16 low payments of... Oh, wait, hang on, it's free. Join the live stream with Jon Barrie and Paul Murphy this Wednesday at 7 PM Melbourne time.
And we are on. We're live. Welcome to the Adobe Video Chin-Wag. Season 2, episode 4. The title of this one is Trimming. Trim and Terrific. I tried to do a play on words. Well, yeah, it kind of worked. Who knows? Hey, I'm here. I'm by myself tonight. Paul is unwell and we couldn't get a stand-in, so I'm going to fly solo, which means I'm going to be looking at your conversation quite closely. And there might be some pauses. Now we are doing cut down replays. We haven't posted them up for the last few weeks, but that means that all this crap of me talking and all the junk that goes on gets chopped out. So bear with me while we go live. It's going to be a much smoother experience on the replay. Thanks for joining us. We've got Cedric Robertson, and Undead Will Destroy All is returned again. People are asking each other how they're doing. That's kind of nice. I like that. It's a bit of a community vibe there. All good. So instead of having a chin-wag to myself about stuff that's got nothing to do with the theme, I'll just get stuck straight into it. So we're going to try something here where I'm sharing my screen and I've got my picture-in-picture in the corner. Now, please in the comments let me know whether or not the size is too big, too small, or Goldilocks, just right. If you think it's Goldilocks, use GL, GL and throw it in the comments. All right, good stuff. I don't think we've got anybody watching on Facebook. Nope, it's all YouTube. Too easy. Righto, here's my bevy. Have you got yours? This is actually 0 alcohol beer. I'm digging it. I like it. I get to enjoy it and have that mental process of, unwinding for the day. Not ready to go to bed, but just unwinding without the effects of the alcohol. So cheers to that. Nice one. Goldilocks, just right. Thanks, everybody. I figured it might be because I was trying to use the interface to sort of get a sense of, the size, and it worked. Thanks. I like that feedback. Cool. Righto. So we're here to talk about trimming. Now, there's actually a couple of things I want to talk about with trimming, and I want your feedback on this as well, in that I like to communicate this to others because it's all about sharing, right? I work for Adobe, but the point is I'm trying to share the knowledge and get the knowledge. I don't know everything and I can't think of everything. So the broader community, I want your feedback on this. Now, editing, when I try to explain it to people, it's kind of, I think, for like trimming, in just getting the edit working, there's two columns that I like to refer to. One of them is additive editing, where you put things in the might as well go and do one, right? So you find some footage and you go, oh, okay, footage, beach, open it up here and then start to, add your I and O in and out points, and then add that into the sequence, making it additive, right? And then the other one is not subtractive. That would just be far too logical. I call it reductive, meaning I go in and say, hey, this entire beach footage, I'm just going to throw all that beach footage in, and then I'm going to go in and start to reduce what that is. So right here, I'm going to use very basic, ugly kind of trim mode, and then, move it along. I'm going to be talking about stuff that's ripple trim and how you can make that quicker. But these two schools of thought, additive, building the timeline, and then like one piece at a time, and then reductive. Do you think there's a third one? Obviously, you can start with one and then kind of go into the other, but I still think that there's two. I'd like to get your thoughts on that. I know a few of you are, out there teaching, and so you've probably got a few little tidbits of experience or different wording that you use that might make sense there. Cedric, I know you do a lot of training as a master trainer and a certified Adobe expert across the Adobe video tools. So you might have some hints and tips for me, or you might decide to borrow my terminology. Who knows? I'll find out in a few secondy doos while the lag catch up to the commentary. So, all right, we're just going to sort of divert from that theory and start looking at the trimming techniques. Okay, now I do have a list. And the techniques kind of come down to, again, there's two schools of thought, although they do overlap in this instance, where you're using the keyboard, right? I might just pop into full screen. So using the keyboard and then also using a mouse. If you're on Windows and you have a touch screen, you could be using these, or even two fingers, or three. But we won't go into that. It's a little fringe. We won't go there, and we don't want to make the Mac people feel left out. Okay, I had a little dig at the Mac people. That's all right. It's okay. Let's get back to sharing the screen. Now, the mouse, you saw me using the mouse before. So far as I'm in the standard trim mode, which is the default setting, which is this bright red. Whoops. Let's get the zoom going on there. Let's move that out. I should have prepared that much better. I'll cut it out in the replay. So I'm using the standard red icon trim mode. That's the default. Now, if you wanted to change to ripple trim, where when you pull the edges, you close whatever gap is created. So in this case, I'm creating a gap and I'm leaving this ugly gap. I could select it and then hit the delete key, but that's too many steps. So what I want to do is hold a modifier key. On Windows, it's the control key. On Mac, it is the command key. And notice it's gone into this yellow mode. Now, if I pull that across about to the same place and then let go, there's no gap. The trim has occurred, but the gap is gone, ripple trimming. Same thing happens on the other side. Now, I tend to work more that way as a reductive editor. That's my style. The other thing that you could be doing is if you do have a little bit of extra handle space in there, notice if I hold down my keyboard shortcut there, the modifier key, and I overlap my mouse over the top of the edit point itself, it turns into the roll edit mode. Now, this is kind of using some smart uses of the mouse, and what I want to also highlight is that you can go in and use the ripple edit tool or the rolling edit tool, and I might just zoom in onto that one as well, because these are B and N. These are the tools that we're temporarily using based on the position of the mouse. So you don't have to change the tool in order to get access to both of those trimming formats. Okay. Now, because I want to work that way more than I want to work, hang on, let me just go back to my standard tool. Because I want to work that way more than I want to be doing this trimming, I don't want to have to hold down that keyboard all the time. So I'm going to go into the preferences and show you a couple of options that sit inside there. And all the way to the bottom there, trim under preferences. Okay, cool. So when we get into here, there's a few different options. Now, the one in the middle there, allow current tool to change trim type of previously selected edit point. It's a bit long-winded, but what that means is that when that's off, I'll turn it off so you can see the difference. And I might actually make a keyboard shortcut to jump into this trim mode, simply because I'll be going in and out of the preferences. So let's do Control-Alt-K on my keyboard shortcuts in order to get into... Where are you? Are you coming in or not? What's going on? It doesn't like me. All right, well, let's go the old school way. All right, I want the trim mode under preferences. I'm going to assign that to what's not used, F7. F11, that one would be better. Okay, cool. I need my function key turned on. Okay, F11, there we go. Done and dusted. So that's turned off, right? So this changing mode. So if I have that selected and then I try to change it, like now I'm using that control key to try to change the mode. It won't let me. It's stuck on it. If I hold the modify key now, let me just zoom in so you can see this a bit better. There, and then hold the control key to modify and change the mode, it won't let me select it. I have to deselect, then change the tool, then make the selection, and then I can't change it to the roll mode. Now, there might be a point where this is a preference for you. You might want to work that way. Now you know that it's there and you can control it in such a way. All right, let's hit that F11 key and get back into my keyboard's shortcut. No, there we go. Good, keyboard shortcut worked. Jump in here, turn that back on. We'll hit OK. And we'll move back down to the bottom here and show you now that I have that turned on, I hold the modify key and now I can change it, right? It stays flexible. Of course, you want that on by default, but at least you know that it's doing that. All right, let's look at the other settings. And this is the one that I always use. So allow selection tool to choose roll and ripple trims without the modifier key. What that does is allows me to stay by default in the ripple trim and roll mode. So I'm not holding down that key, and you can see that my ripple, roll, and trim modes are the default, and when I hold down my modifier key, I go into my standard trim, which I do far less of. I very seldom use it. Sometimes I do, but because of my ratio of the way that I prefer to work, that keyboard shortcut, modify key, I reserve that for the minimum amount of things that I want to do. So by default, I want to be trimming, ripple trim, and making my rolling edits like that as well. Cool. All right. So let's get into the other option there. We're going to cover this. We're going to cover it properly. Okay. I was going to have a sip there, but I ran out of time. It jumped right in on me. All right. So the last one there is to shift clips that overlap trim point during ripple trimming. So let's play with this one. So we want to shift the clips that overlap the trim point during the ripple trimming. So let's turn it off and see what this does. So I'm going to move that on top like so. I've got myself a bit of a J cut going on here. Oh, by the way, I'm holding the Alt key to only select the trim area that I want. So if I didn't, it's going to select both the video and the audio component of that particular clip. That if I click on it once, I can see that they're actually linked. I bypass the link by holding the Alt key or the Option key if you're on a Mac. And then that way you can start to just manipulate it the way you want to, with a bit more finesse, without having to go over to here and disconnect that or use a keyboard shortcut to turn that on and off. I think we talked about this in one of the previous episodes. It can be a bit scary. Once you start turning that off, you get sync issues and all sorts. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to push this out and boop, notice that that's pushing and everything is moving the way that we would want it to. Cool. All right, let's go in and change that preference. F11. Let's see if my zoom puts me in the right place. No, it didn't. All right, we'll move the mouse. Okay, so shift the clips that overlap the trimming point. Oh, I think I know what I did wrong there. I didn't actually do the right thing. That's okay. Let's just see what this looks like. So that overlaps the trimming point now. So when I do this, it's staying in sync and shifting. Let's go and turn it off and we'll see if that has some weird effect where it's not allowing it to do the same thing. Okay. Nope, seems to be working the same way. Oh. Does that? Ooh. So here's the thing, I haven't done my homework. I bet Cedric knows what this is. Fascinating. Let's go turn that back on one more time. Because that was definitely not moving together. Shift clips that overlap trim point during ripple trimming. So it's ripple trimming specifically. Okay, which is this one, the yellow one. Doot, doot, doot. Okay, doot, doot, doot. That's, oh, it's giving a bit of a trim there. You know what? We're going to leave this one. We're going to duck out of this one. because I'm not 100% sure exactly what it does. It's been a big week. I should have done my research on that one. I knew there were 3. I never turned that option on, by the way. So anyway, if you know what it is, oh, well, there you go. Cedric said he does know what it is. Put it in the comments, and then, you know, we can loop back on this. The beauty of doing it live, we can go back and we can get your input and put it back into the program. Oh, he says I do with a question mark. Ah, maybe he doesn't. All right, then. We will keep moving on, and we'll look at a different mode of trimming. And that mode of trimming is not using the mouse, which I've been using. So this is one of the ways of working, trim. The other is using the keyboard shortcuts. So what I'll do is move to an edit point using my up and down key arrow keys, right? And then I'm going to hit a keyboard shortcut, Shift-T, Shift-T, and that puts the selection based on the highlighted track. So notice V1 is selected, V2 is not. We shall zoom in. Make this a little bigger. Hold Shift, scroll up. There we go. So V3, V2 not selected, meaning keyboard shortcut actions shouldn't affect what's going on in anything that's on V3 or V2 that don't also overlap into A1, A2, or A3, because A1, A2, A3 is turned on. Right? Now they're turned off. So if I was to select this one, turn this one off, and then hit Shift-T, notice now it's grabbed a different clip trim point. Okay. Shift-T. Oh, it's already in that mode. Turn it off. Shift-T. And see, grabs the other track. Good to know. Right, once you're in that mode, you can do a few different things. So I'm using a keyboard shortcut to get into this mode. You can get in there by double-clicking on the edit point. That's just another way of getting into that mode as well. So doing it that way means that I don't have to fiddle around with the keyboard shortcut, controlling system, which is this selection of the video or audio tracks. But if you're doing some sort of quality control check and you know that you're just basically going in and just tweaking things that are on a specific track, you can turn that on. And then this is kind of cool. I like this. So I'm actually going to bring that up one. And let's see, I might chop this one and stick it on another track there and do this one too. Okay, so what I want to do is have V2 turned on and then double select this. Then, before I'm even trimming anything, I'm going to use my keyboard shortcuts to jump to the next edit point. It will select it based on 2 factors. The 2 factors are the video track and the audio track that are selected and turned on. Audio track 1 is turned on and all of the audio is still on track 1. So this will be interesting to see how this works, right? I'm going to press my down key arrow thing and jump and jump and jump and jump, so on and so forth. Look at that. So I'm actually getting a trimmable mode for just the the audio portion, because technically that's not connected to what's going on down there. So when you've got a bit more control and you know you want to do this sort of stuff, it's still in that mode, but I've just turned off A1, and you can have a keyboard shortcut to turn on and off your specific tracks as well. Now when I jump to the next one, hey, it just jumped to the next edit point on video track 2 without selecting the underlying audio track 1 element. Meaning, if I was to now start using a keyboard shortcut driven way of doing a decision on the way I want the trim to stop. I first saw this in Final Cut Pro Classic. I think it might have been like version 4 or maybe 5 way back in the day, where this mode, if you were to use your JKL keys and you use L to play and then you tap K to stop, when you stopped, that's when you would get your ripple trim to stop at that point. So I'm going to do this and go back and then tap. Hang on, let's do. There you go. So I've just tapped and stopped with the K key, and the K key is what decides is going to be the stopping point. So if I'm still playing back, right, the entire clip that's there up in this top area of the program monitor. And so when I've got shots that are working together, now these are not going to work because if I look at them, they have this white tip in the top corner. So of the out point and then of the in point, and this white little tip just there, that little arrowhead, that indicates that you are on the absolute first or last frame of the clip. When I ripple trim this in, you'll see that that component of the top right corner, that little arrowhead, is gone, meaning it's not the absolute end or start frame. Okay, let's try and do this trimming mode. So let's see, I'm close-ish, but not exactly on that particular edit trim mode. If I hit Shift T, no, it didn't take it. It took the V2 because the next V2 is obviously what's going to work when I use keyboard shortcuts. Right, so I'm overlapping a little bit of the underpinnings of the way the keyboard shortcuts work in context of doing trimming, because a lot of people still don't fully understand how these operate. And so that's useful when you're using any keyboard shortcut inside the timeline. All right, turn that all back on. That's my edit point in there. So I'm not exactly on that, but I'll hit Shift T and it will jump to it because it's the closest edit point to my playhead. Right, now I'm going to hit the J and the L, and you can see that that's actually rolling through the footage, and it's not changing that edit point until I tap on the K key. Now this is good if you're watching and you want context of the flow of what's coming in or what's going out, and then what's coming in, and sort of get a sense of timing around that. Okay, so you can see the difference there and how that's playing into the way that I want to work. And the same thing works if I change that mode, which is that red rolling edit. And notice up here, as I move my mouse over the top of this area, I can change from being the selected edit points as a roll edit, or now as a ripple out. And it is reflected down in the timeline of the clip that is part of what's being played with inside of the program panel. And the same thing would occur if I was to jump into here. I make that change, but because I'm no longer in that interface, it pulls me out of that interface. So Shift T, jump back in, and then I can use my mouse to make quick control changes here while I'm using my keyboard shortcuts for JKL. So now I'll do my ripple trimming by playing it out. Oh no, let's go back a bit. I like how the water's coming in there. Sploosh, so right there, just as it's about to cross the frame, that's what I want. And then I go into this one and go, well, where's the cyclist? Yeah, maybe more in that sort of thirds section of the frame. I'm happy with it there. Maybe we'll wait till he's in the center. It's not a very long shot, is it? But you can kind of see down here what's happening down here, right? So as I hit K, after using JKL, I'm able to make those decisions quite quickly. So I'm combining the mouse interface with the keyboard shortcut interface, and it's actually quite a bit quicker to do it that way than if I was to use the keyboard shortcuts to cycle through these different trim modes. Now, if you want to get out of this and use a keyboard shortcut to do it, you just hit the Shift-T combo again, and it takes you out of that mode. If you wanted to get out of that mode with the mouse, you just click outside, anywhere outside of that panel, in the timeline, on a clip, wherever, it will disengage the trim mode. All right, so that's a pretty classical style of trimming using that trim mode. And I just wanted to see if anyone's got any reflections on that or feedback before I move into the next item on my agenda. Tomato. Just going to have a sip of my lovely non-alcoholic beverage. And while I'm waiting, I'm going to remind you all about this thing. Hey, we've got ourselves... We're in a rush. Actually, the rush is in front of me. I'm on top of the rush. But it's also a Premiere pillow. This very exclusive pillow is still up for grabs. As far as the raffle goes, now there's a keyword. And each episode there's a different keyword. Cedric has entered every single week. And I'd like to say that I'm going to keep this as a locked out per week thing, but I think it's probably better if I leave all the weeks open so people who get to watch the episodes afterwards, even a week after, they still have a dedicated link inside the description of that episode. Oh, excuse me. It's my beer is coming back to me. You've got your dedicated registration link, and that link is specifically to that episode. So you've got to have the correct registration link for that week and the correct keyword or secret word that's shown but not said in that registration. If you've got it wrong, you are disqualified. So you must watch the episodes properly and get the right registration with the right secret word. The secret word's right next to me, but we'll do it in a minute. Okay, checking that live stream. Okay, so it looks like Cedric's having a crack at this, and he's looking at your ripple trim and got it working slightly differently. Interesting. Well, do tell while I continue on the journey of ripple trimming and all the other ways that you can go about doing the trims. Right, so what I wanted to do is then show you how to make those changes in the timeline to go into that trim mode and then cycle through using keyboard shortcuts only, okay? A lot of professional editors that have been doing it for a very long time, and usually they're avid trained, and they come over to use Premiere, and then they start using everything keyboard driven, and you can assign pretty much all the keyboard shortcuts that you're going to need and not really ever have to touch the mouse. There's probably a couple things in there that could probably be added, but you know, I would say that the majority of the repeated things you'll be doing, you're covered. What I want to do is go in and actually bring in this bit here. So I'm only using the keyboard now. I'm going to use the Shift-T, and then I have to remember the keyboard shortcut now. I think it's Control-Shift-T. It is. Control-Shift-T. Now what that does, and if you're on a Mac, please, I'm probably going to get the keyboard combo wrong. I'm guessing. I'm not going to guess. If you have a Mac, make yourself useful. Jump in and look at the keyboard shortcuts and look for trim toggle. Okay, so I'm going to jump in there myself. Dang it. Now, why is that not letting me in? Here we go. Will it get me in? Ah, my keyboard shortcuts. My Control-Alt-K doesn't want to work today. It's on the fritz. Let's look up trim toggle. Okay. Toggle trim type. So what that does, it cycles through all the different types of trim mode around the edit point in the timeline. So look it up. It's already been assigned. It's a default one. So if you're on a Mac, check it out. Okay, so no mouse. Shift T immediately goes into the roll edit. Control Shift T goes into the first of the cycle, which is ripple out. Now, I'm going to use some other keyboard shortcuts that are going to simulate what's happening here. So it actually tells you in the pop-up. I like this. This is one thing I really like about the way the engineers and Adobe product managers actually come up with. When you hover over something, it actually tells you what the keyboard shortcuts are, in that this is using the control and then the right arrow and so forth and so on. And so you add shift and then you get 5 moves, left being minus, right being forward or plus. Okay, so we're in that mode. I can hold down those keyboard shortcuts and I'm making those changes. Notice the time code is showing me that I'm moving in increments of 5. Now I'm moving in 1, 5, 5, 1, 1, so on and so forth. And I'm getting the response down here. Now I do want to bring this all the way back to this pip. And I'm hoping that you're hearing the pip. Now I've got to double check here. Yeah, it does. The pip's coming through. Good. So this is something that if you do this too quickly, it might be buffered in the wrong audio. And if you wait just a little bit, just a tiny bit of patience, you give it a chance to buffer in the next mode. So Control Shift T, that tone is a different sound. And when I trim this, you'll hear that it's a different sound as it's sampling it through, right? Okay. So that gives you a sense of you're hearing your sample of what the frame is supposed to land on, and it will be in sync to the frame rate. Audio, you can go in if you change the mode. So you have to go into this little fella here and change your audio. Oh, it's not in shot. Let me just, here we go. You need to change it to show audio time units. Then you can actually make audio shifts sync as well at the sample rate. So what's the sample rate of this sequence? Let's go into the sequence settings and we can see that we have a fantastic sample rate of 48,000 hertz per second. That's 48,000 samples of audio per second, not the 25 frames per second we have for vision, but you have to put it into that mode. Then you can absolutely go in and be using all the trim tools just for audio, just to make those very, very minor adjustments. That will only affect audio. You can't move vision less than the lowest frame rate. In this case, 1/25th. All right. So Shift T, get back in there. Control Shift T cycles to out, ripple out. Then again goes to ripple in. Then again goes to trim out, meaning I get a gap. And then Control Shift again, Control Shift T again, now gives me, and this is an interesting one, gives me the trim in point, but there's nothing there. What? Yes, you can actually trim gaps like this. So what I'm going to do is use my keyboard shortcuts to move this over, and I'm actually pulling it out until I reach the next clip, and then I'm moving that as well. Right? So there's different ways that you can be executing and using that kind of workflow, where if you were to engage in a ripple trim of a gap and then use keyboard shortcuts, notice I'm controlling that using keyboard shortcuts. You can control the gap as though it's a clip. A lot of people don't realize that that's even possible. That can have a lot of powerful effect with the way that you work. So just know that that's in there. All right, I'm going to quickly check the little live stream, see if anything's popped in here. Is there a full suite? Oh, this is an interesting one, right? So, Undead Will Destroy All is asking, is there a full suite? Oh, let's get back into the full screen mode here. Is there a full suite of the Adobe products in Pillows? The answer is kinda. Not every single product. Desktop products? Yes. Are they all available at the same time? No. So the Premiere one, which I have a few of, you can see. We'll see how we go. I might find other ways to get these out to people. They are rare. They run out and they don't get refilled very quickly. So if you're interested, oh, I just lost the word. That's terrible. Do you know what? We're just going to run with this then. That is an Atlo effect, not to be mistaken for halo effect. Put this, the whole thing, what you're seeing now with that faux pas, the universe has decided, no, John, you know how you're being clever using real words? We're going to make up crap. And you're just going to have to deliver that to everybody. So if you want that pillow, you want to get one of these, rare as hen's teeth, then you need that particular secret word. Thanks for the reminder of popping out the secret word. Okay. Now, Cedric's asking to go back to the J cut to help us understand what's going on with this wacky-do setting. So let me do the J cut thing again. So I'm going to go back. Oh, where were we? The beach. We were on the beach before, weren't we? Let's look at the J cut. Okay, what I might do is I'm actually going to make a J cut, but I'm going to show you some other things while we get there. Okay, so I haven't gone through everything. Ooh, there's so many different things. So I've been using the mouse, I've been using the keyboard, we're using the trim mode, but now we're going to use something called amazing. Now, I will have to preface that there is a known bug where if you use the keyboard shortcut Q and W to do a ripple trim based on your selected tracks and the position of the playhead, if you hit Q, it will basically do that for you. It will ripple trim to the playhead. Now, I really want to preface this. It's on the agenda. I've brought this up with engineering. Engineering know that this is a bug. If I was to go one more frame, that's my first frame. Just be aware of this. If you use Q, that should be what you want it to be, right? I'm going to tap Q, bang. It's done a ripple trim. It's closed the gap for me. Super fast way to work, but it eats a frame. I'm sorry that this is not working as one would expect, but it eats a frame. Just know that it's eating one frame. So use the Q and W in order to quickly and effectively just sort of chop things down, not refined. If you do need it to go to where you exactly want it to be and you select that mode with the mouse, now if I hit the E key, it will extend that particular selected in that mode trim point to the playhead. E, and now I get a frame accurate in point with a ripple trim. That's a bit of a combo of mouse and keyboard, but it's the right way to do it. It's accurate, and you're going to not have frustrating times going, where's that amazing in point frame that I had set up when I used the Q key? W does it on the out point, so let's have a look here. Oh, okay, can't see what I'm saying. Very good, thank you. All right, let's go back. I will show you. Thank you, Cedric. Cedric knows me personally, so he's just sent me a personal message. Someone's calling me. Cedric's calling me. Cedric, we're live. Why would you call me? I'm going to have to ignore you there, Cedric. So sorry. Right, so let me repeat this. For those of you watching the replay, I did this all without sharing the screen, and now you just get the benefit of seeing it properly because I'll cut that junk out. Okay, so I'm going to build this J cut, but I'm going to do it by showing you some other things as we get there because Cedric wants to go back to the J cut thing. Cedric, please put your information into the chat. Are you hearing distortion? That shouldn't be right. Oh, distortion might have been the phone vibrating. Yes, it would have been the phone making the weird noises when you have a phone near a microphone lead. Right, so this is the exact frame that I want this to be, and I'm going to use the Q key, but the bug exists. There's a bug. I'm sorry. There's a bug where it eats one frame when you use the Q key to do a keyboard-based ripple trim based on the position of the playhead. If I went one frame, just one frame, a little too far, that will be the first frame. So I go back to what I want, and I'm going to tap Q, and you will see that it actually eats one frame. Engineering know about it. It's on the agenda to get it fixed. So I'm going to tap Q, boom, very fast way to work, but sorry, it's eaten a frame. So if you want to do this properly, let me get back to that frame. What you do is a combination of tapping on the edge of ripple trim type selection of the clip edit point, and then tap the E key and you'll get the same effect, but this time you will have the accurate first frame. So hit E, it moves that trim mode and that trim point to the position of the playhead. And then because it's in the ripple trim mode, it closes that gap for you, but it doesn't eat that frame. So E is extend edit to playhead. And if I was to use any other kind of mode, let's just say it's this mode, and I move my playhead to say bang on 6, and I hit E, boom, that selected edit point extends. Sometimes it's not really extending in that it's not growing, it's maybe shrinking, but it basically moves that selection into the position of the playhead based on where it is in the timeline. Okay, so we're going to build this J cut. I'm going to hold the Alt key, I'm going to select it in the ripple trim mode, and then I'm going to hit the E key, and notice that it didn't make it to my position. Why is that? Oh, it's because when we look at it, the absolute beginning frame is here, because I see that little corner, right? That little arrowhead thing in the corner, that white tip, which means it can't extend further than the absolute beginning of the clip. So there's a nice loop back for you on the way that that works and why it might not always do exactly what you think it's doing, because it can't. All right, let's select that, hit E, and now we're going to work through this J cut one step at a time. I'm going to move my good old playhead there. We're going to go, whoops, hang on, let's put that into that mode. And Cedric, please walk us through this. There is going to be some lag, but please walk us through this particular thing step by step in the comments, please, and I will do my best to keep everything in sync. Right, gotta have a drink. While I'm waiting for these steps to come through, let's have a look and see what other bits that I had prepared that I wanted to cover. Right. The things that I wanted to showcase was in selecting the edit points themselves. So I'm going to keep my eye on this content. It looks like Cedric's jumped off somehow. He's not following through. So we'll deal with it later. That's fine. Now, if you wanted to, notice I'm selecting sort of one thing at a time. I'm going to go back to this beach edit because it's got a lot of busy sort of edit points and they're crossing over different positions of the timeline and all the rest of it. And I'm going to make a few more J cuts in here and L cuts and whatnot. So let's maybe put one of those in there and then we'll trim this into here and so on and so forth, and making it a little bit more complicated just so you can see the power of being able to edit maybe more than one trim point, one edit point at a time. Now, if I use the mouse and I click on this, I'm going to get just that particular clip. Now, if I wanted both and then I hold the Shift key, I can add, but notice it changed the mode. So you have to be a little bit careful that when you do it, you're actually paying attention to where the mouse is based on the proximity of the edge, okay? And then hold Shift, and then you can start to add them in. Okay, so now notice it's doing opposing trims. So if I use keyboard shortcuts, look at that. It's actually doing an opposing ripple trim there, which is super interesting. Now, another way to do it, and we will get on to Cedric in a second here because he's starting to add the info. If I hold the Control key and then on Mac, I think it's the Command key, that modifier, click and drag, and notice I'm doing a marquee selection. When I do that, I'm actually selecting everything that this marquee touches. It actually selects the trim points or the edit points. And then I can use my Control-Shift-T mode to cycle through the different modes. Right? Pretty clever. So that's another thing to be aware of. All right, let's go in and look at Cedric's notes here. You need to move V1 to V2 for the second clip. Okay, he's typed that in twice. Fantastic. Let me see here. You need to move V1 to V2. Video track 1 to video track 2 for the second clip. I'm sorry, Cedric. Not quite understanding that. I've got a J cut here, and I'm not sure. Go back to the J cut. Well, yes, there's my J cut. Very good. I have the J cut. This is all fun and games, isn't it, people? Right? You know what? I'm not saying it, but, you know, I'm using this to kind of kill the time while I wait for the lag to catch up through the commentary of doing a live stream with comments and trying to get a bit of a conversation going. It must be exactly like that. Cedric, I have the J cut selected, waiting your next move. Yes, hold out there. What am I holding out? I'll hold this out. Cheers. Doink. Okay, here we go. Question. When using the playhead follows the playhead in the timeline, when on a 25 frames per second timeline, it will select the frame behind. However, sometimes in a 24 frames per second, it will select the frame in front, which means I need to do an extra step to go back and select the clip with the playhead. Is there a workaround with this? I'm going to have to process that in a second. because I've got my lasso, which I'm just getting back onto Cedric's comments here. Do a marquee select. Yes. Have done so. Thank you. Thank you, Cedric. Now I'm going to try and reread that question from Pub Brawl. G'day, Pub Brawl. Thanks for joining us. When using the playhead follows the I might have to do a bit of one-to-one with you on that one, and then make a little video that's to the point and highlights what you need there. I think I understand, but I'm not 100% certain. Cedric, can you just keep going through? Okay, toggle to out. Okay, so I have that out. Yes. I'm going to keep trying to process this question from Pub Brawl. Playhead on a 25 frame per second timeline. We'll select the frame behind. On video 1. Okay, so there. Sorry, Cedric, I'm not sure. I think we might have to take this one offline and, again, make a little video about this particular thing. Cool. I'm guessing that there's different frame rates where you're seeing a slightly different reaction to the follow the playhead in the timeline. If selected in front, is that got to do with the zoom? So sometime I might need a bit more info, unless someone else can help me with understanding it. I'm so sorry. I really would like to understand what it is. I'm sure there is some sort of a workaround so you're not making unnecessary steps. But yeah, please, I'll follow through the comments. Jump on the Facebook group and make a comment in the event. You should be able to make comments. If you can't, just leave a comment on the page, and then I'll follow through and we'll make a little video about these two things with Cedric and Pub Brawl. Bit too much of a distraction. I agree. Let's continue. All right. Select multiple edit points. We've just done. Another way to do selected multiple edit points is got to do with something that can become kind of tricky when you actually want to start sort of pulling out frames or chunks of what's already a pretty complex edit. So what I'm going to do is open up this final edit of this particular short film, and you can see it actually looks super complicated. So what I want to do now is highlight that I've got some elements here that I know are in sync, like perfectly in sync with my content here, but I need to somehow make them all move together, right? And so what I'm going to do is when they're selected, I'm going to group them. And by grouping them, so I just right click and group. I think the keyboard shortcuts Control G on Windows and Command G on the Mac. When you go and select them like so, that means that when I touch one of these, they're all now linked, right? And that means if I was to select the edit point, it selects all of them, meaning I can now maintain the critical sync of, say, sound effects or Atmos or music cues that, sync with that particular selection area of the shots that happen at that point in time, and you don't want to lose that sync. You can group them, and then when you go into the edit modes, the different trimming modes, they will work together. So now I'm going to use my keyboard shortcuts, and it's probably a little bit tricky to see. Let me zoom in here because there's not a lot of handles room here. But what I'll do is one frame at a time, you can see how they actually all move together. So that's a really interesting one too. If I use my keyboard shortcut to toggle, then I can start to do some things like that too. Now notice, this won't let me kind of do some things as far as the shifting goes. And that's got to do with this funky looking, kind of reminds me of, what's that arcade game? There's an arcade game. I can't think of it. That's so bad. There's an arcade game where these are like the enemies. You got to shoot them. Anyway, this toggle sync lock means that this particular clip, because it's long and overlapping, it won't allow things to shift ripple trims because the sync will get out of whack. So when you're trimming, keep your eye on and start to play around with this concept of the sync lock. It means you don't have to lock the actual track. It stays live, but it will allow for these things to roll along and not be restricting to the way that you're working. Right, so I'm going to do that to this one too, and this guy. And here we go. Let's see. Oh, we need that first one there done too. And now let's see if we can start doing some of these trims. Oh no, I've got something else. Let's just turn them all on. And yay, it's actually working. Not that you can see, but there. Oh, I don't know if you can see very much. I can see that that's actually allowing me now to do that trim. Cool. So I'm just going to undo all the way there and pop back out. So there's a few different things, a few different styles, a few different ways of getting things done. Oh, so sorry. Was that hidden by my picture-in-picture? Let's go back into here. I don't know whether that's, again, being hidden by my picture-in-picture. So we'll do that. And then now I can start to trim. So you can see that I'm actually keeping things trimming, even though with that sync lock off, means that I can move things around. So there's a couple different ways to navigate the way that you can keep things sort of in sync where they want to be, but as you get a more complex timeline, you probably want to start playing with some of the other more advanced ways of locking and turning that sync lock off rather than locking the entire track itself. All right, we are going to wrap it up. We're getting to the hour. Thanks for the jumping in. Oh, here we go. Pub Brawl is talking about in the sequence menu, selection, follow, playhead. The frame rate's giving it different options. Oh, that's weird. Probably shouldn't be doing that at all, I'd say. That's kind of a bug. So the selection follows playhead. So using that, right? Now that's jumping to this shot. This is actually a 23.976 timeline. And it's actually selecting as I would expect it to, based on that shot. Now I'm going to use the dedicated modes to select a specific thing. So here, it's actually selected the very end of that shot. And if I was to jump to the next one, it's selected the absolute beginning of that one. So when it comes to the vision, maybe that's where you're seeing things behave a little bit funny. So let's look here. So I'll jump to the next one. Looks like it's doing it correctly. And again, it's definitely correctly choosing. I'll go to this one, which is the 25 frames per second. And that looks like, well, it's grabbing the edit point. So I'm jumping to the edit points. Oh, the sync lock was hidden. Yes. Well, it's this funky dude over here, right? Toggle sync lock. And then that means you don't need to lock the entire track. Just enabling sync to maybe slip around a little without having to lock the whole track. Cool. Yeah, I'm testing this jumping thing, and it seems to be working correctly. Now, for me, it's jumping and it's grabbing the end of the next shot. And that's probably more, I guess I can see what you're saying in that it's sort of doing it here. Because here I would probably think that's the shot I want it to select. But you got to keep in mind that the shot select is actually more designed and driven for color grading. So when you're color grading, you want to jump and select the shot that's vision. You don't want to be grabbing the audio. So I will make a cut like was suggested. So I've got a cut there, and I can see that's grabbing, kind of seems like maybe it's grabbing the wrong shot, but it's designed to help with the selection of vision first, because it was created as part of the color grading workflow. So when you're in the, let's have a look here, in the color UI, you didn't have to go and select the shots in order to then continue to do the work. So if I was to use this selection follows playhead, you can see I'm in the color bars, and I can make corrections to the color bars. Then I just tap down and I go to the next thing, and I can continue to do work like so. And that is the actual use case of what that function does. It's for the vision and not for the audio. So I'm wondering if that's kind of where there's maybe a misunderstanding of the way that it works, or the intention of the way that it works. It seems to be working correctly for me in 25. And if I was to go and open this 23.976 timeline, I should be getting the same results. Yeah, I can see it's actually grabbing the absolute in point of the shot. So I can make corrections to the clip itself and jumping to the next shot. Yeah, all based on vision. Yes, the code word is a little bit broken. That's correct. But this is what it is. Get yourself that pillow. It's a cool pillow. It's a cool bit of nerdy merch that I guarantee you don't know anyone that doesn't work for Adobe that's got one of these. You can't get them in the wild. You have to know someone. All right, Pub Brawl, I think what I'll do, I will catch up with you individually, and we'll PM each other, and we will go through what this particular thing is, and we'll expose what the situation is, and then kind of an understanding of the way that it works, because it might just be a misinterpretation of the expectation of what it does, or it might be a bug. If it's a bug, great, thank you, and I will certainly be handing that on to engineering so they can get it sorted out. All right. The URL. Oh, the URL's broken? For reals? That ain't right. I will fix it immediately after we are done here. I'm going to see if there's one more thing that I think I had a nice little tip here. Okay, here's the tip. So I'll use something kind of simple here to illustrate this. So I'm going to use my Control Marquee Select all the edit points mode. And if you were to change this out to the ripple trim, right, and then push things out, you start to get the ability to kind of make things expand out. And that can be useful if you've got, say, still images that you need them to maybe just go a bit longer, and you want to ripple them for that to happen. Or you might actually have some gaps. So instead of, and this is a trimming technique, right? But it's not going to be what you think it's going to be. you've got gaps and you just want them filled with the content. Just make the shot go a bit longer. Could be a still, could be a bit of footage. You just know based on, say, the music, it cuts exactly at this point, and that shot is just not quite long enough. So what you can do is make the selection. So I'm going to fill these two gaps here. Make the selection of the shots and then go in, right click and go to speed duration, or use the keyboard shortcut for it. When you go in here, now this is a tip that Paul was going to share. What you can do is you can disconnect the speed percentage that's relative to the shot. So when you click on this, the link is not going to be there, meaning you could change the speed or the duration and they're not going to be in sync. So in this case, I'm going to say, hey, instead of being 5 seconds, let's just fill the gap. I don't know what the gap could be different for different things. I'm going to say, make it like 15 seconds. Oh, crikey. That's not cool. It's jumping around. Make it 15 seconds. All right. And make sure this ripple edit's not turned on. Make sure it's off and hit OK. And boop, I've just closed those gaps. Right. Super simple little tip. It's got to do with trimming, kinda, but it's a nice little hack that allows you to make those adjustments very quickly across the board. So for example, this one here, instead of grabbing this one at a time or a few of these one at a time, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to actually use the number pad to say, go in the negative direction, minus 2.0, bang. And I've just made them all go 2 seconds shorter. So that's another way you can control these trim points using the numpad to go in specific amounts rather than jumping in 1s or 5 frames per second. All right, that is going to wrap it up. Thank you for attending. For those live people, I will fix that URL. Awesome. This has been really cool. There's other things as well. I haven't covered everything. There's a couple other bits and pieces that you can go into to do with trimming and different hacks and techniques, but they are really the basics. And I think a few of them, I hope, are nuggets and a bit new to some of you. It is past 8 o'clock. Thanks for joining me. Ciao for now. And I'm going to get out with the intro. Have a good night. Bottoms up.
This week on the Adobe Video Chin-Wag, we go all Jenny Craig on your assets, getting you trimming terrific. Speed up your sessions with more trimming techniques than Edward Scissorhands. Take a ride on the slip and slide and ripple edit to your pleasure. All that and more for only 16 low payments of... Oh, wait, hang on, it's free. Join the live stream with Jon Barrie and Paul Murphy this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Melbourne time.
Okay, for those of you still hanging around, I'm going to fix the link. It is actually going to somewhere that is, not the right spot. Apologies for that. Let me just get into the forms area. I do appreciate those that have jumped online and joined me live. It's always a bit of fun. It's interesting with this lag, though, I will admit. A little bit of a bummer. All right. I had to make a completely new link. I will use the same code for it, so the bit.ly link will work. Just give me a moment to adjust what the link is sending you to. Okay, and fun and games. Okay, so I need that's the one there. Okay, copying that. And can I delete it? Ooh. That's interesting. Maybe I can't. Nope. Please refer back to add, on the end of it, add a number 1. Give me a second here, making that adjustment. Oh, that's weird. I have a number 2. Huh. 4, 1. No, we don't want that. Underscore 1. All right, I will put this into the live stream chat. There we go. Yes, there is. Did that go in? Hang on. Yeah. 04. No. Give me 1 second. It would be great to do this live and with an audience, like for real, with real people. Absolutely. I'd love to do that. Undead will destroy all. COVID kind of was the cause of this. I was doing the occasional live catch up with people doing this sort of stuff, and I thought, let me do it in a digital format. Oi. Did that actually adjust? No, it didn't. I'm letting you all down. Put that in there. That should be removed there. _1 and save. The link has been edited. Fantastic. Let's copy it. Put it into the chat. And that's the link. Checking it myself. And it's working. Hey. All right, what I'll do is I'll make that change. I'll stop the stream and I'll make the change in the description, both on the YouTube page and on the Facebook page. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.